So this is exciting for me. The 5010 was my very first Santa Cruz many generations ago, so I'm excited to talk to you about this. Brant is here with us. Brant runs the tech department in our best store in Colorado. Sorry, the rest of the Denver folks. So thanks for coming out here to Ride in the Hills. We're here in Nevada City, riding the Parliament Trail system that was put together by Bonk, the local trail group that made some really rad trails, super fun, wide range of things. So we're gonna talk about how you enjoyed this 5010 on those trails. So here's how this is gonna go. You were given 5 characteristics and you went and rode the bike, and you get to decide out of the 100 points you were given how you were gonna divide them up. So our characteristics are climbing, descending, handling, pedaling efficiency, and value. So are you ready to get going?
Sure am, bud.
Let's roll it. So this is the Santa Cruz 5010. This is kind of their playful, mullet, have fun, get rad on the trails. It's a 130, 140 bike, right about 65-degree head angle. So let's start with climbing. You gave, out of 100 points, you gave this a score of 15. Tell me how it climbed and kind of what stood out to you.
So it's nothing against the bike. It's a very decent climber. The geometry puts you over the front wheel, I would say. You don't notice that it's a bigger wheel in the front, but there's certainly not the same sort of like get up and go that you might find out of smaller, lighter climbing bike.
And you know, I think they're pretty honest about this bike because this is to get you to where the ride starts to get fun.
Exactly.
So not surprising, you gave a pretty high score for descending on this bike. You went for 28. So we ripped a lot of different trails out there. What stood out to you? Where was it the most fun?
This, I think the cliche is like, this is the downhillers trail bike where it's not the go faster chender, it's the let's have some fun, hit some side hits, like rails through berms. The flowy stuff, you feel like super planted, it pumps like nothing else.
To get off the ground like really easy?
It wants to get off the ground, it pushes you off the ground if anything.
And the mixed wheel, what did you kind of feel with kind of the front wheel supposed to be getting through stuff pretty easy, and then the rear wheel kind of helps maintain some of that playfulness?
Yeah, I would like, this is my first time riding a mullet bike, and I was very surprised. I thought I might feel that kind of imbalance there, but it's very well oriented around that setup.
Yeah, the big front wheel doesn't really feel like it takes away from the kind of the playfulness of the bike.
No, not at all.
Well, I can vouch for its ease of getting in the air because I don't think I ever saw you from the top. I only saw the bottom of the bike riding behind you.
Or on the side, you know.
So let's move on to handling. You know, and we talk about handling in terms of how it handles on the climbs, on kind of flat to rolly stuff for your pedaling, and then also obviously kind of descending, how it gets in and out of corners. So what stood out to you about this bike in kind of its handling aspects?
I mean, as I was talking about, like that rear end really lets you kind of carve around, get the rear wheel out from underneath you. I usually find a 29er is a little bit more stable and like harder to turn around, but
like kind of hard to get up and into.
Yeah, like it just has so much more momentum going, and it wants to keep going in that direction. But on this bike, like that balance is really well done.
A lot of the trails today have some really rad berms. Right? You kind of come in hot and just got a really nice wall.
Yep.
Did the big front end, kind of tall front end, did it feel hard to get into those corners, or just boom, locked in?
No, I didn't have to think about that at all.
Yeah.
I think it was the only handling stuff I noticed was like coming up, climbing out of some of the
Climb, yeah, because that wants to lift.
That was literally the only place I noticed.
So this one surprised me. Pedaling efficiency, you gave a pretty high score, the highest one of all at a 30. And, you know, on paper, this thing just doesn't jump out as like a pedaler's dream, but for the type of bike it is, you know, it must have resonated pretty well with you on the pedaling side. So tell me more about why you gave such a high score.
So I think when you think of pedaling, most of the time you're thinking of a long grueling climb or something like that, where it's all about how efficient you can get up there, how quickly. But I don't know if it's the suspension tune or something about the kinematics on this guy, but every time you put something in, it comes straight back out.
So between pedaling efficiency and its ability to pump, this thing just wants to go faster and faster.
Yeah, pretty much.
Until you fly through the air like a bird. Yeah, very cool. So let's talk about value. You gave it a pretty low score at a 5, but you like so many other things so much. By the time you got here, you didn't have a ton of points. It's a pretty expensive bike, sitting up at about 10 grand. But tell me what kind of struck you there?
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about the points allocation only going so far, but There's no getting around the fact this is a $10,000 bike. This is the top of the line model.
Right. It's got everything.
And
wireless shifting, carbon wheels, top suspension.
yeah, you get everything that you pay for, but
It's hard to assign a high value score to a $10,000 bike.
Yeah.
It's at the top of the line. So it sounds like a super fun bike to ride. Based on everything you've kind of learned about the bike, what kind of rider, or which of your riding buddies, what kind of rider would you say this is the perfect bike for?
I will say it's not a quiver killer. A quiver killer is the bike that you get rid of all your other bikes for. It can do everything at least well, if not awesomely. I think this bike is really good at having a good time on trails you probably already know. I'd say if you got an experienced rider who wants something a little bit less serious, this is great for them. If you got someone who wants a little bit more than they already have, but not to go all the way,
Right.
it's got something to give.
If you want to figure out why this bike is not so serious, come on in to Mike's Bikes. You can see Brant at our Highlands Ranch store or any of our Denver stores. We also have stores all over Northern California. Or just hit us up with our fabulous friends at mikesbikes.com. Thanks, everybody.